So I said in the last stream that the client crashed, and I was like, oh man, this is the second time it's crashed. And I was like, no, it wasn't the second time it's crashed. That's why when we go to hardcore.show here, that it only shows one gap. And that's because it only crashed once. I just was thinking of my previous hardcore stream with with the druid. So yeah, it's only crashed once. I've got it documented in the title description of the last stream, and I'm going to stream every single minute of this character so that there's no confusion as to whether she makes it to 60 or not. Really glad to see some rain in the game, which we haven't seen much of that lately. I don't really know why. I don't know how Blizzard does rain. Like how is it just so? It's got to be random, because I did a lot of streaming on the Druid last couple days, and there was like no rain whatsoever. It felt like so. That's not sure how that works, but personally myself, I want it to be raining like 70% of the time I'm playing. I want it to be raining because that's how much I love seeing the rain in World of Warcraft. All right. So Ori messaged me. Ori messaged me in Discord, and Ori is just someone who watches the stream. He says he comments as, I think, Josh, and I can't remember. I mean, I'll recognize him when I see the comment in the stream, because there's so many people that come in the stream. I don't always remember them, who's who. Plus, I have a really bad memory. But he's interested in doing a duo, and so I'm actually interested in a duo. I've always wanted to do a duo. I just didn't really have someone to really do a duo with the character that I was really invested in. The last person I wanted to do a duo with, they were just kind of they turned out to be a little too annoying. Let's just leave it at that. Anyways, yeah, I think duo would be fun. He said maybe do it after Christmas, so like maybe on the 28th or something, like a week from now or something. So that'd be cool. One thing that bothers me, and oh no, I keep forgetting. I put the auto loot on. One thing that bothers me a little bit is your character doesn't stand out. Like when I'm playing, and for another reason, I'm not seeing shadows at my feet. I want to pull up a script macro for this, because the shadows seem to be showing. I don't know if it's just because it's really dark in Teldrassil or what, but let's see. Classic WoW best shadows macro. And I know I've got one of these macros somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. Graphics. None of these are graphics, unfortunately. I mean, I'm looking for shadows. Nikes. Well, here we go. Bad shadows. Better shadows. This is what I was looking for. Like I said, I don't know if it could be that these shadows are perfectly fine. But I don't see any shadows at my feet or anything, which I guess it's just because there's no light. But let's go ahead and create a new a macro for it anyway, just on the offhand that it's not correct. Screen flashed. Don't know if that means anything good, but anyways, let's see. You know what it is that I don't like? I don't like the ground floor. I don't like this texture until it's so dated. You know, where there's not even like real foliage on the ground here. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just they've thrown this on the ground and say, hey, here's leaves and shit. That's what and you can even see the seam on it. That's what I really dislike about this zone. Hey, what's up, Dale? Pretty good. Yeah, you can do that. Like, I mean, I've got it right. I mean, you can do that, but maybe that helps. But then the problem with that, yeah, I mean, but the problem with that is sometimes it's hard to see things you want to loot off the ground. But we can go ahead and do that. But yeah, it's just if you put the ground clutter up all the way. The only problem I don't like about the ground clutter up all the way, well, it does make the game look better, is that you can actually see it drawing it. Like when I move forward here, maybe not in the rain. You can see here's the limit of the grass, and as we go, it just starts to draw. Actually, it looks like the drawing's a little bit better now than it used to be, but you can see it drawing. Yeah, we'll go ahead and leave it like that. Let's go ahead and leave it like that. Because it looks better than looking this really ugly, just ground floor. And let's zoom in a little bit. I can't take out these three guys. They're going to kill me, and I don't have any healing potions, so this is a very dangerous pull. Yeah, in the classic client they actually. I mean, you could otherwise you could do the you could do this /console. Like if you weren't, it wasn't in the client. You just go frill density, and do like if you wanted to do a lot, just do 256, like that. But right now they've actually pulled it out and they implemented the client. Okay, we're gonna. Oh shit, we got two of them. Man, how many do we get? Do we just get two? I wonder when we get kick. Do we get kick at level 10? I don't remember when we get kick. Oh, we only need to kill one more of these. I guess I did kill a couple of these earlier. It does. If you go here to future spells, it does tell you. So level 10, we get sprint, we get slice and dice, we get sap, and we get kick at level 12. So obviously these are all really good. We get backstabbed to rank 2 also. So the good thing about the rogue is really every level you're getting pretty impactful stuff. I mean, gouge, like ambush rank 1, which is huge. Ambush is huge because we can just open up with ambush, and that can like literally like take people down to half health a lot of times. So that's big, Obviously, sprint's big. I did turn down the darkness a little bit even further. Just to really... just to really give it a grungy look. We could go even darker, but that's too dark. Let's not make it that dark. Let's put it at like 50. So this is a lot darker than normal World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? This will make it a lot more. This is going to make it a lot more difficult for us. This will make it more dangerous. I think my monitor probably supports it. I mean, we can go in and turn it on if we want. In the filter, like right here. But that's. I don't know how to turn it on with my monitor. You know what I mean? Like I don't really know. Yeah, I don't see it. I've got a delivery showing up at my door here in a second. Hopefully this guy can find it. People have the hardest time finding my apartment complex. It's always funny. Yeah, Reshade has fake HDR. Yeah. So I don't like to use Reshade's HDR. So all I did right now is I just went in and I turned the brightness down. And as you can see, it's pretty dark. Hopefully this looks okay for you guys on the stream. I mean, pretty dark. What's going on? Did I miss something? Oh no, I ran all the way back. This is what happens to me when I stream. I get so distracted by talking to people in the stream that I miss quest objectives. This happens to me all the time. I am a terrible streamer because, I'm like, like I have attention deficit disorder, I think, or like I just get distracted really easy. And I started talking to you, Dale, and I completely forgot to kill the guy that gives me the gem. I'm just like, oh, I killed these other guys. We're good. But we're not good. We gotta run back. Yeah, I lose my focus. See, I don't like having this much foliage where I can't see the mob. See, this bothers me. But it does make the ground look better to have the foliage there, you know what I mean? So maybe we're just gonna tone it back like a little bit, I think. Put it at like 6. And that's even too much probably. Now it's not as big a deal in certain zones, but in this zone, this ground texture is just awful. Like this shit here. I hate this shit. And what is this? Like vines all over the ground? It's so unrealistic. Yeah, if you go too much with sharpen, it'll screw shit up. Like I actually have sharpen and clarity, which both. The problem with that is it will make like certain things. Like for example, it'll make this portrait here of this character on my target like get too too sharp. You know, it'll make it almost look pixelated. Like even the text here, the Lonely Noob text for this name, you know, if we get rid of clarity, in my opinion, it actually looks better. The text looks better now, so. Yeah, you can't go too much sharp. Yeah, that's something you know, you just have to be careful with how much sharp you put in. Too much sharpness is not a good thing. Can I like LOS with this tree? Probably not. No, guess not. You guys are pissing me off.
You can kiss your ass goodbye.
Keep forgetting that I turned on auto loot and I keep doing shift right click. It's starting to piss me off. It does make stuff brighter. Ah, okay. I'm playing on 31.5-inch monitors. Alright. Alright, I think my food delivery might be already done. Hold on a second, guys. Oh, no, it's not. Holy shit, this guy's going the long pod. This guy's lost. This guy's, like, not even in my complex. Oh my god. This guy's trying to get to my apartment complex. He's completely lost. So, I moved into a new apartment complex, and apparently people don't know how to read GPS. So when I order, like, as I order groceries from the store usually, every time I order now for this apartment complex I'm in, the people get lost. They like completely get lost. They can't even find my apartment complex. And then when they get inside my complex, they can't find my building. And I'm just like, are you guys idiots? I mean, when I went to find this building, right? The first time my wife said, "Hey, we're in building 11." I just pulled up GPS on my phone. I went right to it. I'm like, why can people not navigate to this apartment building? I'm like, what? Oh my god, it just cracks me up. We're gonna have to wait for evasion. Oh, it's freaking 3 minutes. Okay, that's not gonna work.
You can kiss your ass goodbye.
Damn it. Now I got 2 guys casting at me. Maybe we can kill this guy now. Of course, he can kill him because he's a caster. It's easy for a druid because they can free hot. This quest is always a pain. It's always a pain if you're like a rogue or a warrior or something. It's not an easy pull. This guy is so lost. Dude, where are you? I mean, do I dare text him and say, where the fuck are you? Dude, where are you? Like, what the hell, man? Here, I wonder if I can let's take a screenshot. Like, Oh, I can send this guy a photo. Send photo. You see where? Did it not send the photo? There it is. Lost. I just sent the guy a picture saying, "You lost, buddy?" Because you certainly look lost. Alright, we can skip this guy real quick. Here, let me do something. Let's see. Yeah, give me a second, guys. I gotta try to help this idiot like find where I live. So. I just don't understand how people don't understand how to use GPS. It's just I don't get it. Like, how is it so hard to use GPS? You know what? It's actually gotten so bad. Like, I've ordered from the grocery store like about 5 times. I think 5 times, and I think 4 out of the 5 times people have gotten lost. Like, well, at least this is the first time they haven't been able to find the complex. The other 3 times they got to the right my apartment complex, but they just couldn't find my building. I mean, it's not like there's signs when you come into the complex that say, "Hey, buildings 11 through 16, go this way." And then there's a big sign on the front of my building that says it says what building I am. You know what I mean? It's like, can you not read? It just gets so frustrating. Because I don't want to have to get in my car and drive to the grocery store when I'm working from home just to get groceries because I'm lazy. And also, where I live right now is actually really crowded. There's like tons of traffic around here. So if I can pay someone a couple bucks to bring it to me, I'm going to do it. I'm too old to be driving to the grocery store every day. Unbelievable, man. Okay, the guy's back on... He's coming back towards me now. So it looks like he went to a completely different complex. Now he's turned around. Now he's coming back down like a highway towards where I live. Now let's see if he actually can... And the funny thing is I have directions on the... Like in the application, you can put directions. Like, I have explicit directions on how to get to my apartment. Like, go here, turn left, stay left. This building, this staircase. Like, I have explicit directions so these people don't get lost, and yet they still manage to somehow get lost. I feel like I'm Asmongold, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm Asmongold saying, "What's going on in the world? What's up with these people who can't read?" Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? But you don't want to piss them off. I mean, they're delivering your food, man. You don't really want to piss them off. Maybe they'll spit in your food, or maybe they'll. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's like when you're at a restaurant and your food order is like taking way longer than it should. You don't really want to piss them off. God knows what they're gonna do to your food before you get it. All right. Oh, man. In the EU, it's not common to order groceries and transport for you. With food, yes, it's super common. The difference is, um, oh, I'm ordering groceries from like a grocery store. So in the United States, they've basically created all, there's all these applications, all these mobile apps have been created that make your life easier, obviously, right? Like Uber Eats, where you can order from any restaurant that's near you and have food delivered. Or, obviously Uber, you can get a taxi cab, just any kind of app. So basically almost anything you could do. I mean, you can actually go to like Target, you can actually order all your stuff from Target online and have it packaged and waiting for you, and all you have to do is drive up to like a little place, and they'll be there with your with your order, and they'll basically just put it in your car for you. So I'm not the laziest person in the world, but I started using an application to do grocery shopping, because I used to get my car, drive to the grocery store, go in, get all my groceries, and come back out and drive home. And I did that for a long time, for most of my life. And then recently I found this app where I could what the cool thing I like about the app is it saves all my things that I buy. It saves everything that I buy, and also it's taught me what's on sale when. So I always know what day of the week to order what, because the same things go on sale the same days of the week usually. So I always know if I want cheese, order it on this day. If I want milk, order it on this day. If I want ice, it doesn't matter what day it is. You know what I mean? So it makes shopping so much easier. I can open up my phone, I can order something, takes me 5 minutes, boom, done. And I have a subscription to the application. I pay like a certain amount to the app, like yearly, like $20 a year. And so all the deliveries, as long as I order more than like $40, the delivery cost is free. All I pay is the tip for the driver. The person who like brings it to me, all I'm paying extra than the groceries is literally like a $5 tip to the person who's bringing it to me. Well, shit, I'd spend probably $1 or two, just maybe $1. I mean, probably not that much, but I'd spend some money in gas, driving but it's really the time you save. I mean, for me to go to the grocery store, get groceries, and come back, that's easily 45 minutes, at least. So do you want to spend $5 to get 45 minutes of your life back? Yeah, hell yeah, why not, man? You know what I mean? Good luck. Every time I go here, I will always select the wrong quest. When I go to this guy to turn a quest, I don't care what order these are in, I will always select the wrong one first. It just infuriates me that this happens. I swear it's like RNG based on which quest is on top or bottom, because I always pick the wrong one. Every single time. I've got to get the add-on to auto-completes quests, because I'm always clicking the wrong shit, because I don't want to read it. I'm like, I don't want to read it, just click. I'm having a bad day today, guys. It's just not optimal. Yeah. Okay, the guy is... Oh, yeah, he's in my complex. Now, if he follows my directions, takes a right turn, then stays left, he'll see my building. Let's see if he can follow the directions. Alright, so what do we got? We can go kill this. I don't want to do that. No, thank you. What level are we? 8. We're out of here. Well, the thing that gets me is I've had about, since I've lived here, and I've only lived here for what, like a week? Like, I've only lived here like a week or 10 days or something. Since then, I've had at least 4 or 5 people, like either I've ordered like food from like a restaurant to have delivered, or I've ordered groceries. I've had at least 4 or 5 times where people have not been able to find my apartment. And I'm just flabbergasted at that. I'm like, I mean, GPS is pretty accurate nowadays. Plus, if you're a delivery person, if that's what you're doing as a job, like these people are making thousands of deliveries. I mean, apartment complexes all work pretty much the same in the United States. You go into a complex, all the buildings look the same. There's signs that navigate you, says, go down this way for buildings, like I said, 10 through 20 or whatever. And then each building has a number on it. It's like, oh, building 10. So it's not rocket science. So how do you get into a complex and get lost? That's like going to a baseball game and like walking through the bleachers, and each row has like a thing that says, like section A, rows 10 through 20. And then the next section is like section B, rows 10 through 20. The next section is section 3. It's like, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out if you're in section C, seat, 104 or something, that's probably section C, row 1, seat 4. Yeah, and yet, it's just like unbelievable. Follow the thread. Yes, follow the red thread. I miss living at my old apartment because it was so simple. Wait, look. Oh, he's right outside my door, dude. Okay, the guy's actually right outside my door. He found the right building. I can see him right outside my... On the app, anyway, I can see that he's literally right outside my door. I gotta have my ice, man. I'm an ice snob. Like, you know how, like, refrigerators make ice in the refrigerator? I hate ice made refrigerator ice, because it's just... it's gross. It's like, uses, like, water. I mean, in the United States, the water isn't that great. I don't know what it's like in Europe. But just regular old tap water for ice cubes isn't really that good. So I buy, like, premium, good quality ice. Just like I'm a Coca-Cola snob, so I don't drink Coke unless it's out of a bottle, right? So I have, like, bottled Cokes with premium ice drunk out of a Yeti cup, It's like, this is how I drink my soda. I'm a snob, I guess. I am the exact opposite of Asmongold, right? Asmongold's drinking shitty soda from Taco Bell out of a freaking paper cup with a plastic straw. I am the complete opposite of that. I've got Coke out of a glass bottle into a expensive Yeti cup with a metal straw. I drink out of a metal straw with ice made from freaking mountain water. I just have in directions. They just leave the food at the door. Basically, what they do is they leave your food right at your door. They take a picture of the sitting in front of your door, where you can see your door and you can see the food, and then you just go open the door and grab it. I mean, I don't want to talk to them. What really happened was during, yeah, see now I can see the picture. Thank you. And he is done. The food is sitting. He took a picture. I got a picture on my phone. I can see the picture sitting right in front of my door right now. Yeah, does it depend on it depends on the country in Europe, I bet. Here, let me get my food off the door here. I'll be right back. In Poland, it's mostly clear without minerals. UK, it's terrible. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that UK water is terrible. If you use a kettle, you can see white crystals from... That's funny. In Netherlands, water, for example, was so clean that you don't need to buy a mineral from the store. In France, it was clean as well. It doesn't surprise me that the UK has shitty water, because the UK is so dirty. Like the water in general in the UK. I'm surprised France's water was clean, because the water, like the rivers and stuff in France are pretty dirty, pretty polluted. I would assume like water in like Norway or Sweden would be a little better, but who knows, man. Like the water in Florida is not as good as the water in like Chicago. Like I lived in Chicago a long time, most of my life, and the water in Chicago is much better than the water here. But I don't drink tap water. I always drink, bottled water. Yeah, I would assume Iceland would have the best water. It just makes sense, right? Is there anything else here we want to say? Not really.
Farewell.
Wow, I got 16 silver. That's pretty good. What am I, level 8? We are level 8.
Elune Adore. I am listening. May the stars guide you.
Yeah, I'm Bane.
I am honored. Goddess, watch over me.
No, the druid didn't perish. I decided to piss off everybody in the stream, Einbay. The druid didn't perish. I actually was not liking the druid. I wasn't having fun. I disliked the combat. I found the rotations on the kitty and the barrel to be incredibly boring. It's also one thing about the druid that I missed it. One thing about the druid is, the reason I picked the druid is because the poll, like the hardcore poll to see who was going to play what class on December 15th, the druid was the least represented class. That's why I picked it. I was like, well, let me play something nobody's playing. But I think the reason nobody picked druid, because it's freaking boring. Like, combat on the druid was, honestly, I was just really bored. I wasn't enjoying it. I just straight up wasn't having fun, especially like levels 22 to 25. I was like halfway to 26. And I just was like, this isn't fun. I was like, I'm not enjoying this, The only thing that was fun about the druid was being able to shapeshift. That was the only thing I liked, was being able to, like, and of course, being able to heal is always fun. It's always cool if you can heal. That's always a nice, I always consider that like a luxury. If you have a class that has healing, that's like a luxury. Because, obviously most classes don't have that. So, but I just wasn't having fun. Yeah, it seems to be the least represented class, but I think druids get a bad rap. I think one of the reasons people don't play is because they say it's not that good. That's not true. Druids do very good. It doesn't have anything to see. You're 100% wrong. I hate it when people say that. I'm not an altaholic. I play what's fun. That's the difference. I'm not an altaholic. Like, if I was an altaholic, Einbay, and you logged into this server, you'd see a hell of a lot more characters. I have like 3 characters on the server. Like, I have like 3 fucking characters. How does that make me an altaholic? Right? I play what's fun. And the problem is I'm not having fun on the druid. That's the thing, And the only reason I have so many characters, the only reason I have so many streams where I'm not finishing getting to level 60 is because of you guys. Because of everybody in the stream wanting me to play Wrath of the Lich King Classic, Burning Crusade Classic, Turtle WoW, Classic WoW, Shadowlands, fucking Age of Dragons. I actually am nice enough that I try to play what people in the stream want me to play, but that means I'm jumping all over the place like a fucking pinball. You know what I mean? If I wanted to just be like, fuck you guys and do what I want to do, I'd probably be sitting over on Turtle WoW playing a hunter, to be honest. And actually, I know, but people are always like, oh, you got to try this, you got to try that. And deep down inside, I have a need to make people happy. I've always been that way. I like to make people happy. I like to, present something that people want to see. That's just my personality, unfortunately, How does this guy have an Overwatch icon next? Oh, it's because that's just a notification from the Blizzard app. I mean, I can't wait, though. I just can't wait till there's a new MMO that comes out. Because then I can play one fucking MMO. I don't have to jump around. Because WoW has too many versions. There's too many versions of WoW. You know what I mean? There's just too many. It's like, it's like 15 versions of World of Warcraft. And the only reason that's the case is because Blizzard screwed the game up so bad, They screwed the game up so bad. Make it a little bit easier on ourselves here. That white noise of the rain was getting a little bit annoying. But yeah, I wasn't enjoying the druid. I got the druid to leveling 1 to 10 on the druid is really boring. It's really not fun. Once you get to 10 and you get bear form, it's like moderately better. It's like a little bit better, but not much. And then you after like 5 levels or 4 levels on the druid, where all you're doing is basically waiting to hit one button. That's all you're doing. It's like, wait for rage, click maul. Wait for rage, click maul. Wait for rage, click maul. I mean, that was really the gameplay for like what felt like 3 levels. It was boring as hell. And then I finally got like cat form, and it was like, well, there's nothing you can do on cat form. It's like auto attack, claw, auto attack, claw. And then you have rip, but rip's a total, like that's something I learned with Feral Druid a long time ago. Blizzard screwed up Feral Druid, right? You should never have given Kitty rip at level whatever it is, like level 22 or I think, or whatever, because it's totally worthless. It's like rip is a worthless ability at that level because it takes enough energy to use it. You never get the benefit of the full damage from rip. During a fight, really. Like, if you put in a rip at like 1 combo point, it's pretty much a waste of energy. Even if you put in a rip at 3 combo points, it's kind of a waste of energy. Only if you're killing a mob that has a ton of health are you really going to want to use rip that much. And so it's more of an ability that you're going to use in boss fights or against elite mobs when you're doing dungeons, because it takes a long time to kill them, and you're doing a lot of other damaging abilities while the bleed is up and running. Same thing with rogue. If you're going to do like, what's the rogue finisher? The bleed finisher for rogue? I can't think of it right now. Rupture. If you're going to do Rupture, it's great for dungeons, but you're not normally going to do Rupture in PvE while you're leveling because it's kind of a waste. So giving kitties like claw and then rip is stupid. You should have a finisher. Same thing. I mean, rogues do it right. Rogue gets Sinister Strike, and then you get freaking eviscerated at like level 4, which is perfect because it's a finisher. That's what you want. You want to build combo points, and you want to use a finisher. Right? So the way they do Druid is really jacked up. It's just completely wrong. Same thing with Paladin. I mean, they really missed. They got Paladins wrong. They got Druids wrong. The classes they got right in Vanilla was Warrior, Priest. They didn't get Warlocks right because Warlocks have too many... There's too many glitches, in my opinion, with the channeling abilities are just glitchy. They're just glitchy. They're not smooth. I don't really like... They fixed those issues later on. That's why I don't play Warlock in Vanilla. It's because life drain and soul drain, and they don't feel smooth. It's easy to those casts to get. They just don't fire correctly. There's issues with them, and yeah. So I mean, it was a vanilla game. I mean, vanilla was vanilla. It's a great game, but there definitely was a lot of issues with vanilla. And it's not copium. I hate it when I hate when Imbe says that. It has nothing to do with copium. It pisses me off when you say that, Imbe. It's not copium. How the fuck are you gonna play a game for 18 fucking years and not want to play something else, right? How the fuck are you gonna sit here and tell me you want to play a fucking same game for 18 fucking years and not want to play something else? It's like telling me, hey, eat the same fucking cereal for 18 years. Guess what? You're gonna get fucking bored of it. That's the fucking same thing with World of Warcraft. You know? So it has nothing to do with copium. It has to do with just getting bored out of your fucking mind playing the same goddamn game for 18 fucking years. Enough said. No, I didn't. Malding now. I didn't have any coffee today. Imbe just always pushes my buttons with his fucking copium shit. So Imbe, did you give up on Dragonflight yet? You said you were going to buy it. I think that's a mistake. Imbe, I think you buying Dragonflight's probably a mistake. The more I looked at the talent trees, the more I don't like them. The more I don't like how restrictive the talent trees are. You would think that talent trees would give you a lot of freedom, but they really don't. The way Blizzard implements the new talent trees, it's like it's like a spaghetti mess. You know, it's like they took a bunch of spaghetti and just threw it in a bowl and said, well, you've got to follow this piece of spaghetti to get these things, and if you want to go down that path and get that stuff, you got to follow this piece of spaghetti, but these two pieces of spaghetti, well, they overlap, so yeah, you can kind of branch from here to there. It looks like a fucking source control, fucking MKS Integrity source control map of bullshit. It's just, yeah, it's not, yeah. Yeah, I think the talent trees are too restrictive. Like, they should have done them like Rift. Again, I've said this so many times, but if you want to make a good talent system, just look at Rift. It doesn't get any better than that. You have good talent trees, you have the ability to swap stuff in and out to make, you have so much variety with every class. The only thing bad about, and it's not really bad, but I do like class identity, and I think with Rift, you do have class identity, but you have to know which souls. I mean, it can be a little bit complicated. I think the worst game for that was, what was the game that I played? Oh, it was Ion. Ion was really bad that way too, where you had like, you know, like the class. I don't like it when the class matrix gets too complicated. And I think ESO fell victim to this as well. Actually, I think Ion's not too bad. Like, you have these classes in Ion. What was bad? They're not going to cover it, unfortunately. Nah, none of these are covering it. I thought, oh, Ion. I didn't mean Ion. I'm sorry. I meant Arcage. I didn't mean Ion. I meant Arcage. Ion's extremely simplistic. But if you go into Arcage, you have, see, you've got this, right? So like just in the archery tree, you have archery, sorcery, shadowplay, songcraft, vitalism, and I guess that's all of them for that. I thought here in oh no, we've got more. Is this all arches? This, holy shit. Yeah. But you can see there's a lot. See all the different, like off of Battle Rage, you've got Hexblade, Hexwarden, Hordebreaker, Dreadhunter, Harbinger, Shadowblade. I mean, this to me is overkill. Like, this is what Arcage has. Some people like this, but to me, this is a little bit overkill. Like, you know what I mean? But, I mean, Rift kind of has the same thing, too. You have souls, right? Same thing. You swap out a soul. So Battle Rage, Witchcraft, Oromancy. And then you switch out Oromancy for the defense soul. And now you're Battle Rage, Witchcraft, Defense. And they actually have a name for it. So it's not bad. I actually prefer this to World of Warcraft. Like the way this is set up, I like it a lot better than World of Warcraft's talent system, especially the most recent one. So yeah, I definitely would try. I mean, the talent system to me, like I said, I feels a little restrictive. But you do have a lot of talent points to work with. But, like, here. I talked about this, I think, earlier today. So my problem with it is, like, I'm just going to pick anything. It doesn't matter. Balance, Pharaoh, whatever. My problem with the retail talent system is this. It's like, what if I want to have this and let's say, you know, this ability, you know, I mean, but I don't want to have to go and get like this ability and this ability, like this ability and this ability, or maybe this one and this one. So like, there's two ways to get to Star-Lord. You can either go, you know, down this way to get to it. Actually, there's three ways. Down this way to get to it, down this way to get to it, or down this way to get to it. But I don't like this. You know, I don't like where there's always like, everything's connected. I don't like that. Like, I don't like it at all. I really dislike it. If you go to Rift, this is the way. Oh my God, why is this like so small? Why is this? But anyways, this, right? In Rift, you have abilities, and you just pick what you want. Now, there's certain ones that are chained. Like this, to get to this ability here, you've got to click this one. To get to this one here, you got to click this one. But outside of that, it's actually really free. I can have this ability, this one. I can have that one. You know what I mean? But actually, in Rift, you end up getting you're going to end up getting a lot of these. I mean, you might end up getting all of them, to be honest. But I like the freedom of being able to pick and choose what I want, and not being restricted, saying, well, if I want to get this, I've got to go way down these trees. So it's just, I don't really like this. I think this is a little bit restrictive. It's also kind of just, it's overly complicated too. You're like, oh, I got to click this one and that one. I don't know. I'm not sure what made him go down that path. I've always thought that for like talents and abilities on characters, I mean, just think like if you look at Skyrim, right? Skyrim does it in a really simplistic way, but it's a way that makes sense. It's like whatever you use the most is what you're good at. Like, you know, if you want to get good at using a sword, you use a sword. If you want to get good at using a bow, you use a bow. You know, I mean, that's a very simplistic way to do it, but it also makes a lot of sense. I've always wanted to build an MMO where the talent stress system was basically a hybrid of that. It was basically kind of like Skyrim, but also kind of like Rift, where you'd say, but also like there's no talent trainer, there's no trainers like it's not like you go to a trainer and say, I'm level 12, now I have access to Fireball. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think I think what it should be is that you have a wisdom score or an intelligence score. And so that shows your aptitude to learn spells to a varying degree. And so you choose to put talent points into your wisdom or your intelligence based on how strong do you want your spells to be, or how much health do you want to have. So there's going to be a trade-off. Like, do I want to put talent points into Constitution, have a lot of health, or do I want to be a glass cannon, put nothing into Constitution, have no health, but I'll put all my points into wisdom or intelligence and have the ability to learn spells to a higher level of efficiency and effectiveness. So then, yes, my spells are going to be stronger, but I have so little health that I'm, like I said, I'm basically a glass cannon. I prefer that more, that type of talent system. You know? Oh, well, I never played Morrowind or Oblivion. I never played either one. I played Oblivion for like 10 minutes, and I don't think I ever played Morrowind, so. Do damage of a noodle? Yeah, that makes no sense. See, that makes no sense, right? Like, that, I don't understand that. Like, how, you know? Like, yeah. Ooh, we got our first chest. Ooh, light leather. Epic loot. Oh, back-to-back chests. More light leather. Pure godlike mode right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's nothing complicated. I mean, the problem, I just don't like how they're linked. I don't like the way how they're laid out. I don't like all the arrows saying you've got to go this way or that. It's like, why? Why? Why do I have to go this way? Why do I have to go that way? Just get rid of the arrows, right? My thing is, if you want to link a few abilities together because they make sense, like, let's say like shield block into shield slam. Oh, sure, that makes sense. If you learn shield block, you get good with the shield blocking, and then you can progress on to, now you can put a talent point into shield slam. Perfect, makes perfect sense. But some of those abilities to me make no sense. Oh, you have to learn this one before I learn that. Why? That's my question. Why? Why do I have to do that? You know what I mean? There's no logical, real reason other than you're just trying to put it some sort of a path for some reason. You know? So I don't agree with that. I feel like you guys are, I think MMO players are too easy to accept poorly designed systems as good. Oh, this is just great. Maybe because you're so used to the shitty system before Dragonflight. New skill gives you multiple, yeah. But think about an MMO where like to learn a spell, like let's say you want to be like a mage in an MMO. There's no trainers in the game. There's no trainers. There's no like level. Like all that leveling up does is gives you attribute points, right? The attribute points just go towards your base stats. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, whatever, right? And then you have other basically abilities that are based on kind of like how Skyrim does it. Like, so there's going to be certain like core skills. Like let's say sword. Let's say like learning how to use a sword. Let's say you find a guy in town like who's a sword expert and you pay him money. And you spend like time with him to teach you how to use a sword. He doesn't teach you skills with the sword per se. You know, he just teaches you like, here's how to hold the weapon, here's how to swing the sword, and so you learn basic abilities with the sword. And then as you move through the world, you might find other sword masters who actually have maybe other techniques that if you train with them long enough, you know, they'll teach you. But then when it comes to magic, like how to learn magic in the MMO would be like, well, you don't know any magic. You know? Or unless you were like maybe a specific race, that was kind of their calling card, that they were a race that was very into magic. They had magical schools and magical like magical like a history to their race of being like magic users, like let's say like elves or something. So you might have some base magic knowledge because you were taught that, you know, when you were growing up in your land of the elves, right? But once you're out of that area, then to learn new magic, you have to somehow discover it. Well, how do you discover it? You know, you discover it by discovering some sort of scroll or some sort of, spell written on a freaking tablet. I don't know. But you got to find it, and then you have to have high enough intelligence to be able to even to understand it. Like some person might read it and they just, their wisdom's too low, or they can't even comprehend what they're looking at. You know what I mean? I mean, these are ideas around creating a much more interesting, progression of abilities that most MMOs just don't have they just don't want to do it. I can understand why they don't want to do it, but that's what I would like to see in an MMO. I don't want to see a fucking, you're level 12 now, so you just magically know how to do heroic leap. If you go talk to this guy because you're level 12, oh, now I know heroic leap. And to me, that's stupid. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, see, but that's cool stuff. See, Dale, I like that stuff because it's more unique, Joan of Arc, hardcore has died. How do you even die in this game? What the? Who creates a character called Stepbrother? It's kind of it's kind of a weird name to create an MMO character, Stepbrother. I just can't help but feeling there's some bizarre, weird sexual connotations going on there. Like, he's like so proud of the fact that he's sleeping with his stepsister that he's calling his MMO character Stepbrother. You know what I mean? It's just something creepy going on there. I don't see, it feels wrong. But yeah, see, that's cool. D&D does it right. D&D does a lot. I shouldn't say it does it right, but it does a lot of things right, right? Dungeons & Dragons does a lot of things right, so. But the thing is, like, if you would create an MMO based on what I'm talking about, where you actually have to explore the world, uncover interesting and unique locations in the world. Maybe you uncover like an underground, maybe you uncover like an old art library, not art library, I'm sorry, like magical like library that just was been buried by time, overgrown by the forest or something. And inside these old ruined buildings that are barely visible above ground, you find some old scrolls that are packed away in a chest, and maybe you're able to read them and learn like a new spell. Maybe that's how you learn magic missile. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff that, think about that. Think about that as a character, right? You're going through the world, and you see some other character off the side of the road fighting like an ogre, and all of a sudden, he shoots multiple magic missiles out of his hand at the ogre. You've never even seen the spell before. You didn't even know it existed. You're like, I didn't even know this spell existed. And here's this guy's throwing magic missiles out of his hand at an ogre. How did he learn that? Think how exciting that would be to you as a player, to be like, oh, wow, how did he learn this? How can I learn this? What do I need to do? Right? Now, of course, it's very difficult to prevent the information from getting on the web and guides and all that stuff, but what I'm talking about is unique things that have to be discovered, right? Uncovered, realized. Not you hit level 12 and all of a sudden magically you just know these things if you go talk to some guy, Well, they have stuff like that. I mean, like Skyrim's kind of like that. It's not really, you're not really restricted to what you can learn. I mean, you know what I mean? You get good at whatever you use. But so the restrictions, so Dale, the restrictions, just like in Dungeons and Dragons, the restrictions are your character stats, right? That's the restriction. Like, if you don't have a lot of strength, you can't physically wield a sword and shield at the same time. You're just not strong enough. You can't wield that great sword because you're not strong enough. If you don't have enough wisdom, you can't comprehend the magical writings that you're trying to read off this scroll. If you don't have enough charisma, you're not going to have the ability to barter with townspeople. If you don't have enough dexterity, you're not good enough to pick locks. See where I'm going with this? Your stats are what really drive your character.
Greetings.
Okay, oh, of course, I was gonna say, why can't I learn this? It's because I'm not level 10. My fishing is certainly high enough skill to level up, but I'm not level 10, so. Bummer. Yeah. Well, and it would be a big time pain, but
Ashnuala.
it would be a huge pain. But the thing is, you don't have to balance it, though. So I would propose that you don't have to balance it. Like, don't worry about balancing it. Because you can't balance it, right? How can you balance it? How can someone who discovers Fireball and has a really high wisdom, you know, they may just be stronger than you because they've discovered something that you have not. So I don't think you need to balance that. You know what I mean? Like, the game wouldn't be a PvP game. I mean, it would be PvP. There'd be open world PvP. But there's not going to be organized PvP in that game. There's not going to be like, I mean, there could be. But you may say it's unbalanced, but you know what? How many people love, how do you guys as MMO players love going into a battleground and just destroying everybody? When a new expansion comes out and there's a class that's overpowered, why does everybody play that class? Why does everybody play Death Knight when Wrath of the Lich King first comes out? Because they want to stomp people's face into the ground. So having like an unbalanced game is not necessarily a bad thing. People love playing characters that are godlike. The only way it's bad is that there's people who are playing the characters that aren't godlike and they're getting their face smashed into the dirt and they're not happy. But wait, there's more. Here's the difference. You have the ability to get stronger. You're not limited. It's not like Blizzard saying, here's all your abilities at level 60, here's all your abilities at level 60, but you know what? The warrior's going to kick your ass every time. Because his abilities level 60 just make him better than you. That's not what this would be. This would be you all have the ability to get everything. You just have to figure out how. So it would be unbalanced, sure, for the guy who's spent more time playing the game, spent more time doing rare and unusual missions, and he spent more time exploring and discovering things that you haven't discovered. So he's more powerful than you. Guess what? He earned it. You didn't. It's unbalanced as fuck, but guess what? It's right. It's right. He used his time wisely. He played the game. He figured shit out. Of course he's stronger. He should be stronger. That's the point. That's why you play. Okay? You see where I'm going with this? I think with WoW I think the biggest thing with WoW is they were trying to create a game that was like EverQuest, but had more questing in it, and it was more casual based. It was more, it was more casual and not so grindy, and they succeeded. I mean, I think the goal with WoW was to make a more player-friendly game that anybody could play, and that, I don't know why, but man, just Darkshore always looks so good. My characters always look so good in Darkshore. You know? But I think that they wanted to make a game that was just a much easier version of EverQuest that had a lot more ways to level, that had the lore in it with Warcraft 3, and I think they succeeded. I think they succeeded on what they were trying to do, and it was obviously very successful. And this day is just flying by, guys. I just saw your comment. Yeah, compared to Legion BFA, Shadowlands, the talent system is a big upgrade. Definitely. Well, I don't agree. Once again, I don't agree with you. I agree that these concepts would work. If you look at Star Wars, and I never played Star Wars, what was it? Not Star Wars The Old Republic, but the other Star Wars game, where to become a Jedi, you had to, like, it was like really difficult to become a Jedi. What was it called? Star Wars? I never played it. Was it Star Wars Galaxies? Well, I think it was it Battlefront? But there was that Star Wars game where it was really difficult to become a Jedi, and when you saw a Jedi, from what I heard, I don't know, I didn't play it, that it was like really amazing. That's kind of the same concept, right? Like it was hard to, it was like that was like a unique, and that's a really, from what I heard, again, from what I heard, that was a really cool thing. But I disagree you saying it wouldn't work. I think it would work. Now, I'm not saying it's going to work to the mass. Again, these are niche ideas. It's not going to be a game that has 10 million people in it. It's only going to be a game that has maybe a couple 100,000 people, or maybe, but that's all you need to have a successful game. You know what I mean? Yeah, you just need a couple 100,000 people, only even just 100. I mean, when World of Warcraft first came out, the goal from Blizzard was to have 100,000 players. That was their goal. They're like, if we get 100,000 players this game, we succeeded. I think you are right in one way, IMB. I think the reason that these types of ideas aren't in MMOs is simply because it takes a long time to develop, and it takes a long time to try to make it fair. Make it. I don't want to say balanced because it's never going to be balanced, but I disagree with the idea that these games can't be successful. Like, I don't understand why you can't take some of the RPG concepts. I mean, it is an MMORPG, right? I mean, it is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. So when people say, well, that's why it's in like The Witcher and not in an MMO, well, that's not a good defense. I don't think it's a good defense. Yeah, the Berserker stance. Yeah, I remember the Warrior Quest in Vanilla. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with super. It doesn't have to be time consuming. There's nothing wrong with time. Again, it's a niche concept. There's a group of people out there like me who want to play a game like this, and there's quite a few people, and you're not going to get a massive. You're not going to get, like I said, you're not going to get millions and millions. It's not going to be a super huge success like World of Warcraft or something, because it would be the problem with MMOs to a certain degree is that there's certain people that can play them a lot more than others. There's people that know life the MMO, and so they end up progressing a lot faster than others. And then you have the if you create a game that's more similar to like what I want, it would require a big time investment. And there's certain people that would go crazy and really do it and put the time investment in. So you'd have to somehow make it such that it wasn't, people like are nuts, man. Like even as much as I want a game like that, I'm not the person who's going to play 15 hours a day on it. I'm not going to do that, but some people will. Some people are crazy. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, what I'm trying to say is that you're rewarded. You're being rewarded for exploration. You're being rewarded for talking. You're basically being rewarded for role playing. For doing the RPG, for talking to people in towns, for maybe building up relationships with a bartender. And if you build up a relationship with different NPCs, eventually they'll tell you some sort of a tip that leads you on like a quest that leads you somewhere where you might. Or you're willing to find some sort of scroll, or maybe you're find some like old trainer who can teach you some sort of a new sword skill or something. You know what I mean? I'm trying to say that you can put stuff in the game so that there's a lot more variety in what people know. And so and the other thing is don't show character levels. I don't like character levels, right? So when you meet someone out in the world, like all you see is their name, and that's it. Like when you played Lineage 2, you didn't see the character's level. All you saw was their name. Why would I know their level? That doesn't make any sense. I've never met this character before. So you see people in the world, all you see is the clothing they're wearing and their name. Do you want to attack him? Do you want to try to kill him? Hey, it's up to you, man. It's up to you, right? That was the initial concept in Guild Wars 2? What do you mean? I bet can you extrapolate on that a little bit more, or embellish, or go into more detail? Were they trying to do more kind of an exploration type thing to find new abilities? I mean, I understand why it wouldn't work. I mean, I understand a lot of people wouldn't like it, but I think there's a niche audience for that type of a game, and I certainly would be one of those people that would really enjoy it. You know? Yeah, you said, or druid forms, for example, same concept. Life is not, yeah, life isn't fair for sure. I mean, there's always going to be people that can put more time into the video game than you can. There's people that are millionaires or they don't have jobs, and there's lots. I mean, it's amazing to me how many people. I mean, it is amazing, but there are people out there that just are so wealthy, and they don't have to work. They can sit around and play video games all day. Like they can play Lost Ark and dump $100,000 into it like it's nothing. Yeah, that's cool. But hey, Dale, think about that though. Think about what you just said. If you made an MMO that's kind of like what I'm talking about, you could have groups of players that each group had a different agenda. One group said, "Hey, we're focusing on trying to help the mage in our group acquire more abilities." So maybe they've got some different like hints of quests or missions that might be able to locate some new spells or ways to make their mage a stronger mage. And so that could be the focus of that group. Maybe another group focuses, they've got like a couple thieves in their group, and they're trying to do some thief missions that will increase their thieves' abilities with, whatever, like stealth or. But I mean, I guess I'm trying to take some of the concepts from Skyrim even and just say, hey, if we go on missions that, like in Dungeon Dragons, if like the Dungeon Master, at least in the old days, had the ability to increase a character's skills if they were able to show like really good swordsmanship, like, and they rolled some really, really high rolls. Like let's say they need an 18 to hit on a die 20 and they did it like multiple times. The Dungeon Master might choose to increase some of their abilities or stats because of that. Like, hey, this guy's pretty good, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Stick, stop. No, don't keep going. Okay, right there. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I bet that someone at Guild Wars 2, someone at what is it, ArenaNet or something? They were probably thinking kind of along the lines of me. It's just like, let's make this the talents and abilities more like exploration based. But then they decided, well, this is just too much. It's probably too much of a development effort. I think that might be the biggest reason why you don't see games like that. Is just from a development point of view, it would be kind of a nightmare. He was assassinated by a player from the other. One thing that was, I mean, in Dungeons and Dragons, it's only as much fun as the dungeon. Like the dungeon master is the key. You have to have a good dungeon master to have good D&D campaigns. And to me, one of the qualities of dungeon master is no mercy. The dungeon master cannot have any mercy. Like if an enemy hits you and rolls a crit and it knocks you below your health or whatever, to kill you, you need to die. Too many DMs are too forgiving and like, oh yeah, well, you're just unconscious or something. I'm like, nah, you're dead. Sorry, buddy. You just cut your head off. Guy rolled a crit, your head just went flying. It's lying over there in the corner. Time to re-roll. I mean, you have to use logic, but you can't be giving the players the benefit of the doubt too much. I mean, there's got to be a price for trying to overcome obstacles that may be too difficult for you. Hmm. But I like the idea of using your stats in a much more meaningful way. You know what I mean? You, there are some in the works, right? I think there are some sci-fis that are in the works, right? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the only ones I see in the pipeline right now, there's about 5 in the pipeline. You've got, I mean, the Horizon Zero Dawn MMO I think sounds really interesting because I really like the art style of that game, and I like the lore. That game's pretty cool. It's got a good story. And then, obviously the League, the Riot's MMO should be an interesting idea because there's a lot of obviously lore and there's a big IP behind that. So they've got a lot of the stuff figured out already. I mean, you've got all these, cities and the world maps already created, and they don't have to like create this stuff from scratch. They've been working on that universe for a long time. So in my older campaign, I killed on last session every character. What? Mass Effect. I never played Mass Effect, but my coworker is a big sci-fi guy, and he claims that Mass Effect is that and God of War. Mass Effect and God of War, and Escape from Tarkov. He likes those games, but he likes Mass Effect a lot. I always wanted like a cyberpunk type. Like there's a cyberpunk MMO, right? Pretty sure there is a cyberpunk tabletop game. Isn't there a cyberpunk table? I always wanted. Yeah, there's a cyberpunk role-playing game. I always wanted that to be an MMO, but I mean, it would be so, and that's another game that kind of really can use my way of thinking when it comes to, because, and think about and I've never played Cyberpunk the RPG, so I'm just spewing this stuff out, but like an MMO where where there's sci-fi and there's like augments, so you could if your arm gets you could replace your arm with a cybernetic arm, and so you have all these the benefits. You might have like a flamethrower, or maybe you have an arm that can create an energy shield instead of like Captain America with his shield. You're actually creating an energy shield, and how you would, because I've thought about these things a lot actually, even for my own MMO that I wanted to create when I retire, which I'll probably never happen, but I still work on it in my head. I'm always working on it in my head. You would create like an energy shield, and the upgrades for that would be that you would have to find more powerful energy cells to drive the shield. So instead of like leveling up your energy shield, you're physically having to acquire a physical objects in game that you use, and those things are like batteries. They don't last forever. So same thing with any kind of like cybernetic thing. That's what's cool about that. Think about in MMOs, like even let's think about think about Thunder Fury, right? I mean, certain weapons shouldn't be destructible, but in general, most items should have durability, and they should break over time. That really helps the economy. That helps the crafters, right? So, let's say you craft a green sword or something, and you use it. Every time you use it, its durability goes down, and you can repair it, but you can never repair it back to 100% durability. So over time, the sword will eventually break. That requires you to have to go back and get a new sword. That's really good for the economy, because that lets crafters always have, you're creating a need for them, But same thing with, it'd be really easy to do with like a cyberpunk game, because the cybernetics and the robotics, it's really easy to make those things, you just make them energy powered. Like, if you've got a flamethrower, you need fuel. When you run out of fuel, you got to get more fuel. If you've got an energy shield, it needs batteries. When the batteries run out, you need more batteries. If you've got, you know what I mean? Yeah, Warhammer would be cool too, for sure. My problem with sci-fi MMOs is I don't want them to turn into FPS games. I don't really like. I mean, to me, FPS doesn't make the best MMO. You know? Yeah, I never played Fallout. I never played any of the Fallout games. Yeah. I mean, I like fantasy as a genre. I like fantasy best. You know, I don't know. Yeah, my keyboard's not working, guys. My W key on my keyboard is literally wasn't working there for a second. I was like, whoa. I really need to get a new keyboard. I think this one's just about lived its last life. It's on its last life. It's on its last leg. I've already crashed this client once for this run, so we're already like not validated. But I've got it. I've recorded every minute of this stream, so we're good. No, I can't. I won't play isometric games. Can't do it. It's just there's no immersion. It's just like when I'm playing isometric, I don't feel immersed in the world. I don't know what it is. I can't do it. I just don't feel immersed. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people who can't do isometric. Yeah, I can't do isometric. Bon, the hunter has died. Bon. When did this video come out?
A few days ago, I released a video detailing why the Ashes of Creation community has grown frustrated and upset with the current state and progress of the Ashes MMORPG. And in that video, I talk and reference another upcoming MMO. That's the Riot MMORPG, which the more and more gamers and MMO fans that I talk to, the more they continue to praise this game. And I've come to my own personal conclusions. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll include a link in the description. It's really an interesting piece. And from that piece, there was a really great conversation that was happening in the comments. And that's why I want to sit down today is kind of bring those comments here to the forefront in a mini kind of community feedback, continuing the discussion. And so that's what this video is going to be about. If you guys enjoy these kind of videos, leave your comments because I really enjoy reading them and continuing to talk about these upcoming games. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you magnificent beast. And thank you so much for coming and checking out today's video. I hope that you guys have a wonderful holiday season, a Merry Christmas to everybody out there, and I hope that you guys are just having the best of times and that you've got all your Christmas shopping done. And I think this is going to be a great video to kind of lean back, get a cup of coffee too, and just end up relaxing. But let's not delay. Let's get into what you guys had to say, and let's expand on this idea about the Riot MMORPG. So this all kicks off with a comment from Grumpy Sheep saying, Well, the thing is with Riot's MMO is that they already have such a deep and well-established lore. That really is all they need to do, is really make a 3D representation of it. Yeah, there's LoL, Wild Rift, Runeterra, their fighting game that they are currently working on, and so much more. But those will most likely be outshined by their MMO. They have all the tools to make the dream come true. And I think that it's best known to be overloaded, because high expectations and overhyped kills practically everything. Now, Izzy followed this up with saying,
I don't agree with that. I think high expectations and overhype, it kills the launch of a game, because if the game comes out and it's not really great, you'll see people like, because the MMO fans are so fickle. Like, if there's this negative connotation, like same thing like with New World, people are like, oh, there's all these bugs, blah blah, it's boring, the questing sucks. Then people start the mass exodus of the game. But keep in mind, all you have to do as an MMO maker is stick out that initial like bullshit phase that you have to go through as an MMO maker and publisher or whatever. As long as you continue to improve the game, and as long as the game is good and does have good content, the players will come back. And I think that's been proven time and time again. How many times have people gone back to New World? How many times have people gone back to Guild Wars 2? How many times have people gone back and tried Final Fantasy? MMO players are cyclical. They will always come back. They just do, because they get tired of playing the MMO they're playing, because it's very difficult to keep playing the same one for years. You get tired of it. And so you want to try something new. So people will go back. So don't worry too much about overhyping a game. I think that's a little bit over publicized. I just make sure that you have a good game. If it's a good game, people are going to play it. It's that simple.
This exactly. It's not that there is no information on the Riot MMO. We know a lot about it. We know the world, the races, the items, the lore. It's basically kind of how it went with Vanilla WoW. When we knew...
And that is 100% true, Dale. And that's the bane. That's the bane of an MMO that's like the way that I want it to be. Because the MMO that I want to create, most companies won't create it because it's too risky. It's too risky. It's not going to target a large enough audience. Most MMO companies want to make a game that's very friendly, easy to play, has a lot of like cash shop cosmetics and bullshit, and it's flashy and glitzy, and they're trying to hit upon some key concepts that people like furries or whatever, or like what I mean, but they're not really looking for like long term. They just want a game that's going to be successful for like 5 years. It's going to make them a ton of money with microtransactions, and then they're going to call it a day. I don't think they're really looking to invest super long term. I think Guild Wars 2 has done a good job of showing that they care about continuing to develop for Guild Wars 2, and they've started to turn that around a little bit and get a little bit more people, I think, coming back and playing the game with basically better content. But yeah, that's why like games like I can't think of the name of the game I'm thinking of, but it's an RPG. But I mean, you have to have a game. You have to get a game that comes out of nowhere, really, that's got like the passion, like the super like passion to want to create something unique and different. And I just, I think, and the good news, here's the good news. The good news, excuse me, is that the tools are getting better every year. The tools to make MMOs are getting better and better. It's a lot easier to make good-looking open world games than it used to be. It's like 10,000 times easier, and it keeps getting easier. So the time it takes to make these worlds, to create the character models, to create the animations, is getting easier and easier. So that means that eventually shops that are going to make these games they don't have to be as massive as they used to be, because you don't have to spend as much time maybe putting a bunch of trees in the world or custom, sculpting the mountains. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff can be done automatically with tools. So that's a good thing. And I think that, we will see, because of how easy it is to make the world, that then that extra time they spent on crafting the world can be put into making better enemy AI, making better stories, making better questing, making more interesting, systems. I hope. That's my hope anyway.
An MMO was coming based off of Warcraft 1, 2, 3 lore. There's a track record of Riot with the last 5 games that they put out. Most importantly, they were all bangers. League, Wild Rift, Rune Nation, World of Runeterra, Valorant, Arcane, Project L. They all look fantastic, and we know there's more coming even outside the MMO. Riot announced projects A through M a few years ago, and we have 4 of them already. Now, Izzy continued this later, saying it's the Yoshi P formula. If you deliver success, people will expect success. Same formula works in other ways. A lot of people didn't have faith in New World because Amazon Gaming Studios has dropped every single game it has ever released. There was Riot puts a lot of patches, bug fixes, adjustments into their content and games. And so I'm going to start with that. We've got a couple more comments that we'll highlight and continue this conversation, but there's a few points that I'd like to obviously point out. And first and so last week,
I think this video will be more interesting, to be honest.
a very interesting video about Ashes of Creation popped into my feed. If you guys aren't following Narc, his coverage of Ashes of Creation is very unique. In fact, his style of, I guess,
I would like to say I don't really like Narc. I find him to be a little bit kind of gross. The way he runs around in his underwear with a picture of Stephen Sharif on his dick, basically in the middle of his, I find to be a little bit disturbing. I'm just like, that's so he's a little bit out there. I mean, I'm assuming that he's just doing that for content, but he's a little bit. You're not going to get me streaming, walking around in my underwear with a picture of, Rend Blackheart, whatever, with War Chief Thrall on my groin. You know what I mean? That ain't gonna happen.
gets before he gets into the video itself is absolutely entertaining, and I will include a link to his video in this description, because this video in a way is acting as a response, but it's not just a response to Ashes of Creation, it's a response to the Riot MMORPG that's upcoming. It's a response
Is
to
it still being blocked?
hype culture that we see happen time and time again. And the more that I think about how, let's say, Riot MMO versus the Ashes of Creation MMO are being handled and communicated and on display and not on display, it provides a very interesting, almost kind of a scientific study, an A/B test, if you will. Because one of the things that I keep hearing being told by many different gamers is that Riot's MMO is the MMO to be excited about. Riot MMO is the next great.
No, they tried. They tried to buy it. I mean, they basically put in an offer, I guess, so to speak. I don't really know how that works. Maybe I'm baking expand. I don't know, but I think they basically said we're going to put in a bid at this price, and then I don't know what has to happen for it to go through. I don't know.
MMORPG, and Ashes of Creation is going to be a very niche MMO to be excited about. Riot MMO is the next great MMORPG, and Ashes of Creation is going to be a very niche game, so to speak. But what Narc goes in to talk about is
that's the one thing I've said over and over again, is that Ashes of Creation is more of a niche game. There's so many people that are excited for Ashes, but you have to understand that's a niche game, because the whole concept of that game is map control, is point control. You going in, taking over an area, developing all the resources, getting your node developed as high as you can, and then you know what I mean. It's PvP, right? It's full PvP. So that is a niche game, because there just are a lot of people that can't handle hardcore PvP, and that game's going to have a lot of guilds that just run around dominating maps and killing anybody who tries to get in their way, and that will always create a niche game.
How the community is starting to get. But what Narc goes in to talk about is how the community is starting to get frustrated, starting to get angry, and I think what you end up having here is a perfect example of information overload versus not enough information and hype culture with MMORPGs.
Yeah, the hype culture for sure. Too much info.
MMOs, especially when you compare them, especially when you look at the hype around them, there's a very clear and easy to discern pattern that keeps happening time and time again. It's one of the challenges of the industry itself, because you get overhyped and then you have death spirals, and as long as you can survive those death spirals, chances are you're going to find a decent sized community that wants to support your game. However, what ends up happening, what you end up seeing a lot of times, is a lot of people will compare and contrast any MMO out there to a utopian MMO, the one that doesn't exist. I've seen Lazy Peon kind of talk about this to a degree, where he describes his perfect MMO, and everything he plays is going to be measured up against that perfection that does not exist. And I'm not saying that Lazy is wrong. I'm not saying that anybody's wrong for doing it. I'm just saying it presents a unique challenge as gamers and as people who look to try and provide feedback.
I do that too. I mean, you guys hear me do it all the time. In fact, I was just talking in about, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days ago, where I was saying, let's look at all the MMOs out there and let's pick my favorite things with each MMO. Like, which game has, remember I did that in Visual Studio Code, right? Where we talked about, hold on a second. Let's see if I still have it up. Yeah. I guess I don't have it in here. I have it somewhere. But the point was that, I'd say what game has the best UI, what game has the best combat, what game has the best like professions, what game has the best story, and then you say, well, why can't we take the best thing from each MMO that we like and put it all into one MMO and say this is like the end all be all, MMO, and that's not a fair thing to do, but if you do like Einbei, you're oftentimes you say that what Blizzard did well was to look at other games and take the best thing from those games and make them even better and then put them into their game. Well, that's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is saying, well, what's so good about Guild Wars 2? And if I'm making a new MMO, why don't I just take those good things from Guild Wars 2, create them in my game, but try to make them a little bit better, right? So let's take the mount system, like the mounts, and put them in my game and make them a little bit better. Let's take the UI from Guild Wars 2, let's put it in my game, but try to make it a little bit better. I mean, I don't understand why MMOs haven't just done that. I mean, and the dynamic system from Guild Wars 2 is really cool. Dynamic questing. What about the Rift World Events? Rift World Events is an amazing system. Try to come up with some sort of world event. Same thing with Black Desert. Black Desert has some world bosses and stuff. Try to implement those into a game. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying is try to take the best from other games, learn from it, and implement it in a way that it works in your game. You know.
Back and try to talk about the things and where games fall short when they kind of don't land and hit our expectations. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now with Riot's MMO versus the Ashes of Creation MMO.
Well, I think a lot of it is time. I think it's time. They don't want to spend the time to do it. And there is patenting, but I don't think, I mean, there's not going to be any patent on like, there's not going to be any patent on world events. If you create world events or dynamic questing in your game, I don't think there's any patenting on that. You know what I mean? If I run past a village in my MMO, and because I'm running past the village, some villager comes out and says, hey, our village is under attack, will you help us? I seriously doubt that's going to infringe upon any patent. So I'm not sure what patents you're talking about.
And it's that as we get more information about Ashes of Creation, it becomes less and less theoretical. It becomes more and more solid. Even though I would argue from a game development perspective, until they ship a product, and especially with MMOs, but until they ship a product, everything is fluid. Anything can change. Anything will change. Even though...
So I'm sorry, it's hard to watch the video while play the game while answering your comments. But you say, well, I'm not destroying the fun when I am playing unless it is unplayable shitty. So you try to look past like little mistakes. Well, yeah, the mistakes don't bother me. I don't care if there's a few little bugs here and there, Well, Star Citizen's is like its own animal, and I don't really understand what's going on. I don't get what's going on with Star Citizen. I feel like they chose a really bad game engine. The Lumberyard game engine is a horrible game engine. I've actually installed it several times, tried to do some stuff in it. It's very hard to use. Any developer will tell you it's difficult to use. Amazon, I've actually talked to a guy who knows somebody who works at Amazon who claims that they don't even, this is like, I heard from a friend of a friend of a friend, so we don't know how true this is, but he told me that they will actually sit there at Amazon Game Studios and tell you that they're using Lumberyard Game Engine or like their own game engine to create stuff, but when in reality they're not even using it for some of the stuff because it's too difficult to use. So, you know what I mean? So Lumberyard is not a good engine to choose for making in a game, and I think that I'm just guessing. I don't know. This is just my guess, but I think that that's one of the things that's caused them a lot of problems. Is trying to basically use an engine that's not easy to use to do some really incredibly difficult things, and so. But it's just a thought. I have no idea if that's true or not. So, but yeah, that whole Star System thing, I don't quite understand. I don't understand and they've been working on it for so long. It's almost like they basically just kind of just. I mean, they haven't really said to people, but. It's basically like the fans of that game have just given up ever getting the final version. They're just happy to play what they have and hope that it just keeps improving, Never remember. Can I get up here or do I have to go? Yeah, I think I can. Doesn't really matter. I forgot I'm a rogue. We'll literally just stealth our way through. Don't have sprint yet though. So I went this way. I probably could have just gone. I could have gone the other way, like the normal way, and because I forgot I'm a rogue, because I'm totally distracted by the stream and shit. I'm just not paying attention. But it may have been a little bit quicker, like maybe 10, 15 minutes. But we still would have had to stealth a lot. This way we don't have to stealth as much. I can actually run all the way to Stormwind without even popping stealth, probably. Whereas going the wetlands way, we definitely would have had to use stealth through quite a few areas there. This guy poses a problem. Usually the buzzard's over here, but he's not today. Well, I don't agree with that either, Dale. I don't agree with that either. I think that's partially true, but I think it really comes down to how much are you trying to do with your game. I mean, you have to look at Star Citizen, and what they're trying to accomplish with Star Citizen is unprecedented. I mean, it's absolutely unprecedented. You have like 3 different games. I mean, it's a survival game, it's an FPS game, it's an MMO, it's a sci-fi game. I mean, there's so much in that game. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of content that game has, right? So yeah, it's going to take a long time because, you know, they're making a game that's an incredibly difficult and complex thing to put together. So, but I mean, making a game like, for example, like Elder Scrolls Online today is a lot easier to make today than it would have been 5 years ago, because the technology is so much better now. You know, the technology used to create, the tools, you know, whatever tools you're using for texture creating are easier, faster, better. Whatever tools they're using for creating character models are easier, better, faster. You know what I mean? Every tool for almost every part of making a game, they're more streamlined. They're streamlined to make work, you know, faster, easier. Even the source control systems are meant to allow you to make changes and then revert them out, and just, you know, and there's other systems that allow developers. It used to be like if you were working on a specific map, for example, like you might be the only developer who could be in there like working on Elwyn Forest. But now the way these systems are, you can have multiple developers working on the same area at the same time. You know what I mean? All those things are so much easier now than they used to be. But yeah, well, and I think that is a problem in and of itself. People are saying, well, it's so much easier to make the games, so guess what? I can put more in the game. You know, and then now you're back to stage 1 where, you know, day 1, you know, back to square 1 where it's like going to take, you know, 5 years again. So, but we've seen games that have come out very quickly. I mean, NCSoft there's been a couple games they've been able to whip out in like 3-4 years that were pretty good games. But I think what NCSoft did was they took some of their technology. You know, they were able to put out like maybe 3 different games where a lot of the technology behind the scenes was probably the same, and so that made it a lot easier. You know, I think that's why I think you're better off using like Unreal Engine 5 as your game engine as opposed to developing your own, because they're the ones updating the engine, not you. Sure, you're gonna have to pay some money to them, like 10% of your profit, but you don't have to worry about updating the engine. You don't have to worry about the engine always being like, you know, good.
How are you? See you around. Have a good one.
And once you learn that engine, you know, it's
King's honor.
You know, you have that benefit
Bless you.
of the skill set of knowing it, you know.
Be careful.
So
You need something?
You need something?
Hello. See you later.
But I wanted to watch this video because I was really curious about this.
I would argue from a game development
So I'm going to let this roll, and I'm going to try not to talk at all while we listen to this.
perspective, until they ship a product, and especially with MMOs, but until they ship a product.
But just to comment on your point, I do think that in today's world, the Unreal Engine is so good right now that I think if you're going to make a massively open world game, a big open world game, I really don't understand why you would make your own game engine. I mean, obviously, you lose some profits because I think Unreal's going to take 10%. If your game makes more than I think it's $100,000. If your game makes more than $100,000, I think they get maybe 10%, which is a lot, right? Let's say your game makes $10 million and you got to give them $1 million. I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's obviously why people would make their own game engine. But think about, the good thing with the Unreal Engine is they're updating it all the time, right? So your the engine you're using is constantly getting better, and guess what? They're the ones doing the work, not you. So that money that you're paying them, 10%, is going somewhere. You know what I mean? I mean, you're getting something for it. It's not like it's not like you're just burning that money. There is an investment there that has some benefits to it. So yeah, but the Unreal Engine is so good, and they work with you. I mean, if you're a big company making a big game, they have people that will work with you to help you get past any limitations in the engine, to make sure that you can do anything you want to do for your game. I mean, there's a big advantage for using Unreal Engine. I mean, me as a game company, I would not make my own. I would say, let's just use Unreal. I mean, I don't understand why, what I mean? And plus, if you do have to make your own engine, guess what? You're paying someone to make it. And how much salary is that guy getting paid? Right? I mean, maybe you're paying someone $150,000 a year to develop that, and maybe you need 2 or 3 guys to work on the engine. So now you're paying maybe $300,000 to $400,000 a year salary for 3 guys to work on the game engine. Whereas if you had the Unreal game engine, you wouldn't be paying that. That's $300,000 you're saving. So it's not as bad a deal as you may think. Just to straight up say, let's just use the Unreal Engine.
Product, everything is fluid. Anything can change. Anything will change. They're going to iterate and work on it to make sure they ideally find the fun and hopefully produce the best product that they can, both for themselves as a company and for the players who are interested in it as a game. But anyhow, look at Riot. We don't know anything about Riot's MMO. It is so vague. It is so mysterious. I think that's where you end up seeing many gamers start to talk about it and look at it as a source of hope, as a source of savior of the genre, of something that's going to revitalize the entire genre itself, where that once mantle was held by Ashes, and that mantle is slowly being passed over to Riot's MMO because we know nothing about it. So it can live in our minds. It can grow to be the perfect MMORPG, and it's only when we're faced with the reality does that crash.
Oh, you're saying that you can? Oh, are you saying that you don't have to pay anything until you make $1 million? Up the royalty-free revenue. So it's okay, it used to be 100,000. I mean, that's pretty damn good. I mean, right? That's pretty good. And if you publish your game on the Epic Games Store, although you probably wouldn't need to do that, but if you wanted to, they take a much less cut of revenue of purchases than Steam does. They're much cheaper to put your games on than Steam. Steam takes a lot more out. So I'm a big fan of Epic. I'm a huge fan of Epic. I've been using Epic. I've been using the Epic game engines. I mean, I used Unreal Editor the Unreal Tournament Edition, 1999 edition. It came with an Unreal Editor. I actually used the Unreal Editor to create maps and levels for Unreal, and I thought it was great. I started using the Unreal Engine probably, I don't even know when it was. I don't remember what version it was. A long time ago. Back then, it was pretty hard to use. Now it's a lot more, and now it's a lot better. It's still a lot to learn because it's a massive game engine. It has so much stuff. It does take a while to compile stuff, but now it's just so powerful though. I mean, anything you want to do, it pretty much can do. So
I think that's one part of the crash that's actually happening that I don't believe Narc actually kind of touched on as much as I would have appreciated is the entire genre and hopefully produce the best product that they can, both for themselves as a company and for the players who are interested in it as a game. But anyhow, look at Riot. We don't know anything about Riot's MMO. It is so vague. It is so mysterious. I think that's where you end up seeing many gamers start to talk about it and look at it as a source of hope, as a source of
source of
savior
hope
of the genre, of something that's going to revitalize the entire genre itself, where that once mantle was held by Ashes, and that mantle is slowly being passed over to Riot's MMO because we know nothing about it. So it can live in our minds. It can grow to be the perfect MMORPG, and it's only
Yeah, but I think there's a good reason why people are excited about Riot, and I think that's because Riot has the golden touch right now. Like almost every game they put out right now is very successful, and Riot has a ton of money. Like they have like a lot of money, and they've got Ghostwalker, they've got people there, they've got like an established IP, which is a huge deal when you're trying to make a new game. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to create something. So they have a lot of good things going for them. Having like a ton of money is and of course Ash the Creation seems to have a limitless money supply as well, I guess, with Steven, but having like all that money is it really is a big benefit. So
Good day to you. Safe
and
travel.
people and I really think the art style of yeah, I really think the art style of Riot is a nice art style for an MMO. I mean, it's probably not my favorite art style, but it's pretty good. It's kind of like a Fortnite art style, but I think that lends itself to make a decent MMO. It might be a little too cartoony. I haven't looked, but I mean, if you look at Riot art style, I don't. What do we get if we Google that? And these are probably just character models they're creating for, I would imagine, some of their games. But well, actually, you know, a good game to look at would be what's that Riot FPS game? What's it called? Valorant. Would be to look at Valorant. So let's do that really quickly. I'm just curious. Valorant probably has a decent art style. So if we go Valorant gameplay, because this is kind of what we could probably, and again, it does remind me of Fortnite a little bit, but like this art style, it's not super like, I mean, this is obviously an FPS game, but it's kind of a, it's a pretty good art style. I wish we could get a good look at some characters though, up close, like the character models. So here, so again, not bad, right? Here you go. So again, it looks like Fortnite. I mean, this art style looks a lot like Fortnite to me. But all I'm trying to say is they've got a lot of experience and they've got a lot of talent at Riot. So I mean, I think there's a good reason why people think that they could make a good MMO.
only when we're faced with the reality does that crash occur. And I think that's one part of the crash that's actually happening that I don't believe Narc actually kind of touched on as much as I would have appreciated it if he did. And the other side of it that he talked about is that obviously information fatigue. Ashes of Creation, just like the Riot's MMO,
with you.
in my mind, I've been setting my expectations to 2025 for the Ashes of Creation MMO. If they deliver sooner and it's complete, great. 2025 feels like the right time to be able to deliver on something this massive. Now, from all the different dev updates, I feel like they're making really good and decent progress. But even within that progress cycle, it is still a long thing to wait for. It's still a long thing to be hyped about. It's still a long thing to follow intently and passionately, especially when there's a lot of other things that you could be playing.
Hey there.
You could be playing right now, not even within the MMO
Need
space,
something?
just a lot of games coming out here in the next 6 months alone. I know for myself, I'm very excited about Final Fantasy 16 in June, Diablo 4 in June. I hope to goodness gracious that they don't put anything else stacked up in June.
Hello.
Because that is going to be a very
See you
fatiguing
later.
style month to go up against. So, note to self, like there's a lot to be excited about, and it's perfectly fine for people to lose interest in Ashes right now and then come back to be able to kind of digest a lot of information about what's all changed. To bring up a third game, kind of a game that I thought was a very risky game and a game that I wish they continued to work on, but they didn't, was Anthem 2.0 or Anthem Next. One of the things the development team said they were going to over communicate, they're going to talk us through all of the things they're working on. COVID happened, they shut down the game. I think that was a tragedy. I believe they could have saved Anthem if they wanted to, but I don't think that's very clear that EA wanted to continue to fund the development. Nor, one of the things I think you also look at that game is that I think the team probably just didn't really care that much or was fatigued by it and wanted to move on. So no judgment in that regards. But in that information, when it comes to communicating development and the processes and the iterative processes and the finding the fun processes versus communicating that to gamers is that there is this weird thing that I see happen a lot, and I'm guilty of it. This isn't something that is like a gamer problem. This is something that I think is everybody problem, is that sometimes when in development you communicate a feature, people take that as a promise. That feature might end up not being fun. It might be antithetical to the enjoyment of the game, your experience within. And because of those things happening, you end up running into this risk of people feeling let down by promises that didn't end up reflecting actual gameplay fun in testing and and different iterations of the game itself. And that's one of the risks that I see happening, being that I've seen a lot of people praise Ashes for its information. Here's where, and my biggest critique of Ashes that I would say, because it is a red flag for me, it is a concern. While I am personally absolutely rooting for Ashes' success, everything that they continue to communicate to me on paper sounds amazing. It sounds right up my alley.
Sounds like a niche game though. PvP,
or you want to
hardcore.
Be a crafter and gatherer and participate in the sandbox game that is going on within it. But my critique ends up being is that part of the reason I feel they over communicate is that's a huge part of their marketing. Their marketing is information. Their marketing drives people to go into the cash shop and spend money on a game that is at least a couple years away. People talk about their fatigue with the cash shop items, yada, yada, yada. And that in and of itself is understandable, but that's a part of how they're marketing their game when you contrast this to something like Embers Adrift, which doesn't have any marketing at all. And one of the things that I hope to put out for you guys soon is going over their latest patch notes, which are pretty lean, as they get ready to kind of rock and roll here in 2023 with more updates to come. And so my goal, if you guys haven't seen, me kind of talking about it, like my goal is to hit level 7 this week in Embers. I'm enjoying it. It's a
Embers
weird
Drift
experiment, but one that I'm actually interested in kind of participating with, at least for the short term.
I know.
But there's lots of things that are obviously vying for my.
A lot of people have been talking about Embers Adrift, but I thought that it was full of bugs. That was my thing with Embers Adrift. I thought it was just loaded with bugs. If Embers Adrift is basically formally a different game, because I actually bought the beta of I can't remember what it was called, but then they rebranded it and called it, I think it might be Embers Adrift, but I cannot remember. No, so it's not that. It's not Steam then.
My attention, and a lot of things I'm having a lot of fun.
MMORPGs hitting the scene. I mean, we got Ashes of Creation on the horizon, Pantheon whenever that decides to come out, Genfinod released recently, and out of nowhere, we got another indie retro nostalgic MMORPG that recently landed called Embers Adrift that mimics the grandfather titles like EverQuest. Formerly known as Saga of Leucemia, Embers Adrift is a retro style.
Yeah, see, I purchased the Saga of Leucemia beta key, so I should be able to play Embers Adrift. I shouldn't have to pay any more money to play it, basically is what I'm saying.
Safe travels.
But we'll see. Maybe I'll try to do a stream of Embers Adrift later tonight, just to check it out. But I don't know. Let's see if this guy thinks it's worth playing.
Low fantasy MMORPG experience. The game touts itself as taking a more realistic approach to its world, having players needing to rely on each other and the knowledge you gain from adventuring to overcome its challenges. The game seemingly dropped out of nowhere, as most people had never even heard of it until recently, since there was never a major advertising campaign for the game. I found some footage online through Nathan Napalm's channel, shouts out to him, and a few Reddit posts, and I was immediately interested. I went to the website, purchased the game, and began playing. The game is $30 on sale at the time of this video. There is
On
also
sale.
a subscription fee that the game has, so it's
Wow,
buy to
sub
play with
fee?
the first month being free at $10 a month after the free month. I think that's a fair asking price, but either way, let's talk about why you may want to jump in on the fun that is Embers Adrift.
It looks very like, you know, very very low key, very very indie. But like I said, I played the beta when it was Saga of Leucemia, and it was really one thing I say about Embers Adrift when I played the beta like a long time ago is that it actually the lighting and stuff was really cool, like the torch lighting and the shadows were actually really cool. But the game itself was really buggy. But the combat had that old school feel. And I don't know if you guys, whenever you play like an old game like EverQuest or Lineage 2, there's something really fun about a very simplistic combat system. I don't know if you guys watched when I was streaming me play Return of Reckoning, like Warhammer or whatever, and just going up to a mob and like only having, well, you know, having like 3 or 4 abilities, but every fight being kind of like, you know, you're going to lose a lot of damage. Every fight's a challenge. It's not necessarily a challenge, but it's not easy. If you like go and do this and go up and right click on a target, you know, in some of these older games and you walk away from your computer, you're going to die, right? Like you have to be there. You have to be executing your skills. And the better you execute your skills and in the proper order, you get more, you know, benefits, and the mobs are going to die faster, and, you know, it's just going to be better for you. So there is something to be said about that style of gameplay that's actually pretty enjoyable, you know. Whereas WoW doesn't really have that so much. Like, even in vanilla, you can just go up a lot of times, I mean, and just, you know, right-click a mob and walk away, and you're pretty much going to kill it. Especially in retail WoW, it's really difficult not to die in retail WoW because everything's kind of a joke. But not so much now. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, if you attack a bunch of mobs in retail, you could die. But the point is, like, these older MMOs, you know, fights were more challenging, and they were you know, mobs did a lot of damage to you. You couldn't just walk up to like 2 or 3 mobs and pull them because you were going to die. But there is something that's kind of fun about that old archaic MMO, the one where there's not a whole lot of systems to it. It's pretty plain Jane. It's very simplistic. It's like you go on a quest, and the quests don't give you the best information. They're kind of vague, and you have to figure shit out. I mean, it's, you know, you have to explore the world, and, you know, there's always something, I think, that there's an appeal for that. I think I like those games. Like when I see something like this, it does look kind of appealing on a certain level, you know.
The story of Embers Adrift, according to the beginning quests, is that you are some sort of drifter who has stumbled into the region of New Haven. The world has discovered the power of the Ember Rings, and that they have begun to shape the world around them, mutating animals, influencing human activity, and imbuing equipment with vast powers are only a few of the mysteries that the Ember holds. Essentially, to survive in the world, you will need to find those who are willing to fight alongside you and harness the power of the Ember so that you can help protect those who can't fight for themselves. It's an interesting premise that still somewhat keeps the theme of low fantasy, as you can imagine the Ember being less of a magical phenomena and more of a natural earthly one. Once you've created your account, you are then thrown into character creation. Character creation here is pretty standard with nothing special. You have the choice of being a man or a woman, body type from fit to unfit, height, muscle tone, hair color, eye color, skin color, as well as various hairstyles and markings. As you can probably tell from some of the footage you are seeing here, the game doesn't have the best looking graphics. The textures are pretty low resolution. Some animations in game are stiff or outright unfinished. Pretty jank, especially in the hair types, and overall, the game has a very dated.
Did you see that? Did you look?
Some animations in game are stiff or outright unfinished.
wait, look at this, look at that.
Jank, especially in the hair types, and overall, the game has a very dated look. However, it is going for that retro feel, and ultimately, a game's looks in terms of graphics doesn't matter as long as the game is fun. Once you create your look and name, then you choose one of the 3 starting roles. Striker is the DPS role, support is your healer, and defender is your tank. Eventually, once you've reached level 6, you then choose a specialization which further augments your effectiveness in combat, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Once you've chosen your role and log in, you are given a very quick tutorial and thrown into the world to discover everything else more or less on your own. This game has very little hand-holding, so get used to teaching yourself the mechanics. It does at least teach you movement, combat, using items and abilities, professions, and crafting, and finally questing. Everything you will need to know to get started in Embers Adrift. Combat in Embers is a pretty basic tab target system. Simply click on an enemy you encounter, select your ability, and start auto-attacking. At lower levels, you won't have much to interact with in combat, but once you start rising in levels and choose your specialization, combat really starts to become more intricate. It's not as engaging as, say, World of Warcraft, since there is only 8 skills to slot into your hotbar, but there is a small amount of depth to it. Referring back to the specializations, each role has 3 unique classes to choose from. Striker can advance to Berserker, Brigand, or Warden. Defenders have the choice of Juggernaut, Knight, or Marshal, and finally, support gets the options of Duelist, Sentinel, or Warlord. Each class learns completely different skills, and in truth, blends the standard 3-role triangle. For example, the Sentinel class in the support tree learns their fair share of healing skills, but they also have the ability to wear heavier armor than their comparative
like a
choices,
cleric?
and can even tank in some cases. That's just one example,
Sentinel.
with each tree having similar elements of what I just described. So class choice and customization is definitely a shining feature here. Professions and crafting work probably most similar to World of Warcraft once again. At the start, you choose one gathering profession from the choice of Forester, Prospector, or Hunter. Forester gathers wood and food. Hunter skins animals for their fur and meat. Prospectors mine ores for their minerals and gems. Once you level your first profession to 6, you can then choose an additional gathering profession, or you can choose a crafting one. The crafting professions include weaponsmith, woodworker, armorsmith, provisioner, outfitter, and tinkerer. Once you level your first and second choices both to level 12, you can then
It was
choose
bad,
a
wasn't
third
it?
and final
It was like
profession.
bad,
The
yeah.
choices and professions can be changed by simply unlearning it in the menu, but doing so will reset your in some cases.
Yeah, his left hand.
That's just one example, with each tree having to have the community engage with each other for goods. Each crafter can create something that each player will need, and each gatherer can harvest items each crafter needs. The player-driven
Okay, so I talked about this a lot. I've talked about this a lot of times where, like, in Lineage 2, you couldn't ever be... Like, in Lineage 2, you were either a crafter or a gatherer, but you couldn't do both. So you could, if you were a crafter, you couldn't make anything. If you were a gatherer, you couldn't make anything, but you could gather. So if you're a crafter, you can craft stuff, but you can't make anything without getting the regions. You can't gather the regions. So as a crafter in Lineage 2, you are completely dependent upon getting materials from the gatherers. And it's an interesting system, and it sounds like this isn't quite that hardcore that way, but it does require you to kind of, work with other... Sorry, big sneeze. It does require you to work with other characters in the game. Excuse me.
economic system
Oh my
here
God, you
leads
sneeze.
to a more community-led experience, which is why something like an auction house doesn't exist. The developers want that community engagement. In addition to leveling up your class and your professions, you will also be collecting better equipment through either previously mentioned crafting methods, questing, or farming boss monsters in dungeons or the open world. Gearing your character can be a little bit of a long process. Crafting pieces of armors or weapons will definitely get you by, especially if you've acquired some of the better recipes through drops, but boss enemies tend to drop much better loot to equip. The trick is that these named enemies typically require a strong party to defeat, and drops from that enemy all have to be rolled for individually, so
Nice.
it's never guaranteed that even when you defeat one, you will actually get anything. More importantly,
Nice.
though, it encourages
Let's fight for
players to
loot.
group up to overcome these boss creatures.
That's the way you
together
that's the way
in
you
the
should
hopes
play.
of slowly powering each
Notice
other
how
up as a
notice how when you see me play, I hardly ever group with anybody. That's because I hardly ever am required to group with anybody. I can just solo through the game. I don't really need a group until I get to max level, all right? But I think that's not a good thing. I think it's good to require people if they want to, to level up quicker. Like in this game, it sounds like if you want to get gear to make your leveling journey a little bit easier, you want to get in a group. Like if you don't get in a group, you're going to make it really difficult for you to level. That's what it sounds like. I'm definitely going to try this game out. I shouldn't have to pay. My account should give me access, I think, but I'm not sure. I'll have to figure it out.
group rather than an individual. Questing is another method to find better equipment for your character to wield, as many of the quest rewards give incredibly more powerful pieces of armor and weapons for your trouble. The drawback is that questing in this game can actually be very challenging. Following the theme of older games, quests are never
challenging
indicated to you with any sort of guide. Instead, you will have to
See, this is all stuff that I'm talking about. This is all stuff that I want. I don't want a guide. I want to have to go talk to people and figure out, do they have anything that maybe I want to, because if you don't like have exclamation marks, then it forces you to interact. And you guys know I don't read quest text because I don't need to. That's the thing. I don't have to read it because it's just like, oh, like here's an exclamation point. Click on the guy, accept, go do something. And then I don't need to read it. You know why? Because I just pull up the map and I say, oh, here, I need to go over here and I need to grab this, get this red burlap bandana. So this is convenient, but in my opinion, it makes the game, it's a bad thing. In my mind, it's bad for the game. So because it prevents you actually reading quests to try to figure stuff out. And if you're not reading the quest, you're not really getting the lore and the story. That's why I don't know the lore and the story of WoW as much, because I never read anything, because really, basically, I really don't have to.
Light bless you.
But I don't think that's a good thing.
Speak to each NPC individually to see if they even offer any quests to you. Even further, each quest will only give you a vague...
Yes, I can't do it alone in vanilla, but in almost every other version, Dale, I can, right? Those elites in Red Ridge and Burning Crusade are no longer elites.
Idea of how to continue it through its dialogue and quest descriptions. So if you're the type of person who isn't going to bother reading and paying attention to quest dialogues, it might be best to just ignore them altogether. Dungeon crawling, on the other hand, is probably some of the best fun you'll have in the game. Dungeons offer a great way to grind experience as a group of up to 6 players.
And see, that's what I like, grinding experience. Like, what I like so much about Lineage 2 and some of the older games was the experience of grinding for, dungeons and stuff. That's fun because you're doing it with other people. Again, it really promotes the community aspect of the game. So now it makes me want to go play Embers Adrift. But I'm actually going to take a break, guys, because I'm getting a headache and I have to go to the bathroom. And well, I actually feel like I'm getting sick. This happens every year. I want to tell you guys, every year, at the end of the year, my company shuts down for 2 weeks. Every year, at the end of the year, I get sick. It happens like every year. I get like a cold or a flu. And I think it's just because the weather changed down here because it's been really cold the last couple days. But I feel like I'm getting sick. Like I'm congested. My throat's starting to hurt. I'm getting a fever. It won't prevent me from playing the computer, but you can just hear that I'm congested, right? You can actually hear it on the stream. But it's just so funny because this happens every year. Right when I go on my Christmas break, my vacation, I get sick. This is like the 4th year in a row, it feels like. Hopefully I'm not getting sick, but we'll see. But anyways, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I got to walk the dog. I've got to get something to eat. I got some stuff around the apartment here I got to take care of. Impossible, yeah. But yeah, I'm going to check out this Embers Adrift. And if there's enough people in the game, which I hope there is, plus I know Nathan Napalm. I know Nathan, and if he's playing the game, which it sounds like he is, I could probably contact him, and maybe he could give me a hand to get going, and maybe I could group with him or something like that. But anyways, I will catch you guys later. Am I going to go sit in an inn? Hell no. I don't care about that. But yeah, we're level 9, and I'll probably just, what I usually do is I like to go to this area. We'll knock out all these like quests in this immediate area. That'll get us up to like around level 11, and then we can just hearth right back to Dolinar and pick up Dolinar quest, and then move on to Darkshore at like around level 12 or 13 and start doing Darkshore quests. And then once we get to around like 15 or 16, we'll come back, we'll do Westfall, and then Lakeshire, and then we'll do Menethil Harbor, and then we're back to, it's the path is pretty much the same every time. But yeah, I'll definitely might stream this Embers Adrift later today and see what it's all about. I think it could be interesting. For sure. And then Ori's been talking to me on Discord about on the 28th of December of doing a duo leveling together with him, because he was interested in doing that. And I thought if I did a duo, like leveling duo hardcore, I thought it would probably be more fun to do Turtle WoW, just because, the custom content makes it more interesting. Plus, I like the hardcore mode in Turtle WoW a bit better because it's just, I don't have to worry about the add-on. The one thing I hate about Turtle, the hardcore mode here, is that if the client crashes, which for me it does because I'm always fucking around with Reshade, which sometimes reshade will make my client crash. Once that happens, then the add-on says you're no longer verified, you know, and I don't have to worry about any of that shit with Turtle WoW, because Turtle WoW is basically, if you die, you cannot resurrect. So that's how the hardcore works, right? If you die, you can't resurrect. Done. You know what I mean? I don't know why they can't do something like that for this hardcore mode. They're hardcore, but, you know, whatever. But anyways, I will catch you guys later. Hope everybody's having a good day, and I'll see you again. It'll probably be like tonight, like around like 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, like 5 hours from now. And unless I want to come back and stream Embers Adrift for a little bit, but I got some work I got to do too, so I got to check some stuff out. Anyways.